What's up, guys? Digon here with Dom and LS. It's face check time. No primers this time. This one, we'll just say it off the top. I could just say this off the top, guys. This is a recorded episode. So a lot of you guys that complain about, it's recorded before.
Yeah,
this one's actually recorded. This one's actually recorded. LS has some work obligations is probably the best way to put it. I don't know how much you want to share about that, but like I think it's pretty cool. So this one we are recording it so that we still get you your daily dose of face check. With that, LS, how are you?
I'm good. I tweeted about it, right? So I can just talk about it. I have to take Griffin to LCK team tests in a few hours. So we gotta just run like as soon as this is done. I just gotta like change again and then go. And that'll just be taking place over the course of the next couple of days.
Why do you have to change again? Why can't you just roll up in your own apparel?
Huh? Oh no, because like right now I'm just in shorts, right? I'm in like comfortable clothing right now, but I gotta like get outside clothes because we're gonna be outside all day, you know?
Okay. What does a team test entail normally? You don't have to go through specifically, but generally, like what is a Korean team test?
I think every team is gonna be a little bit different. All I know is that today his tests run from 1 p.m. until 10:30. And I think he plays 2 scrim blocks. So I think he plays 2 scrim blocks in addition to like whatever else ends up happening. There's only one break, which is, I was told it's an hour long, and then everything else is just constantly playing League. So
that's cool, man. Dom, what would you put in a test for a player to see if they're good or not?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing I would test is communication. We saw with TL how important having a 5-man Korean lineup is, and if they replaced any of those players with, like, for example, an English-speaking player that was vastly superior to one of the players, then the whole team would fall apart instantly. It would just be complete dog shit. We also have examples internationally, like JDG. They played with a Korean player that didn't speak Chinese. Obviously, Knavi is Korean, but he does speak Chinese fluently. And they just went to shit, right? That super team just completely collapsed, and they lost to IG today. They're just dog shit now. So yeah, True. The first thing I would test is Korean proficiency, because what matters most is the ability to speak Korean.
True.
All right. With that, how are you, Dom?
I'm doing good
this week.
Yeah, no, it's a lighter week. I was streaming pretty much every single day. I was doing like LPL in the morning, and then obviously because the players decided to walk out, so they ruined the whole schedule so that the academy teams could get 300k over the course of one split. Now we have super weeks every single week in the LCS, which means that my schedule and LS's schedule is just complete hell for the next 6 weeks. So I've been on the grind, but I actually got 2 days off back to back here. I mean, obviously this is like a day off for me when I record a show. That's a day off compared to like normally doing like 8 hours of streaming and recording shows.
Right.
The hustle's all there. Real quick, I know this isn't what we normally tackle, but this is, you both feel strongly about this topic. How do we feel about T1 changing coaches and the fall without Faker and the biggest change there? Because that just seems to be such big prominent news right now in the world of League of Legends. I know that we normally stay with it, but Ellis, I just want to get your quick thoughts. I know I read your tweet that you said I have thoughts. I wasn't sure if you're saving this for a video or if you've already put them out, but I haven't seen anything. I just wanted a quick thought on it.
I mean, I think it's kind of long, right? My belief is that any of the coaching removals doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't impact. I know that sounds really weird, but I just think it's the God honest truth. As long as Faker's around, then that's all that really sort of does matter, I think, for T1. And there's like a lot of stuff I could say probably like on this topic, but that's what I mean. It's like a long explanation. I don't know what the Bengi... I could probably find out, but I don't know everything around the Bengi thing. I know that this wasn't the first instance where it might have happened. It is really surprising that it's just happening in the middle of the split, because there's only been one other incident where this has happened, right? The removal of Dani and Zephyr, which is something that ended up happening. So this is a little surprising in that regard. Now, I know that there's like the stuff on Twitter where like Forrest is being really, really negative towards T1, in regards to like Faker. Huh? What?
No, I've been really positive about T1 recently. No. It's just Forrest, that piece of shit. What the fuck's wrong with that guy?
No, yeah. I think I don't know. Because I am privy to like insider information, right? Of T1. So like to actually say that Faker being gone doesn't impact the other players is ignorant, but you can't know that unless you know stuff that's going on internally. Yeah.
Well, Dom, your turn. This is a lot of turnover and also just a precarious, Fakerless, almost like bloodlineless T1 here, who, like, you know, this is the T1 that there's always been traces of the players past or the organizational structure past, and now this is kind of what it looks like without it.
Yeah, I mean, every single time the T1 has issues, they just fire the coach because the players are obviously like all considered so good within Korea that, you know, they're not going to replace that. Like, I don't think they'll replace one of the players. I think that they would be like a mass, like we're just, you know, going with a whole different approach, or they're just keeping these same 5 players until they have like, you know, some international success, or they just fail enough times where, you know, T1 is completely out on it. I don't know. I mean, I think that this is just showing what I was criticizing in spring, which is when a team is functioning the best, it doesn't mean you actually have the 5 best players. And I thought it was really criminal for any team to win like 5 all-pro first teams. Like, for example, in Korea, when I was watching Korea, I thought Chovy was the best mid laner. I think Viper's a better AD than Gumayushi, but these guys are like, I mean, obviously Chovy was on a worse team in the regular season when the award was given out, even though he should have won one of the series against Faker, and then Viper's team just ends him on repeat because, you know, Clid is busy with other tasks. That's what we should say. He's been busy with other tasks. And yeah, that's, you know, it's really hard to play AD carry like isolated when your support sucks and your jungle sucks. That being said, like the way the T1 is behaving, like they look like they're mental boomed when you watch their games. It's not like, oh, just Faker isn't there. It's literally they're lacking some direction, or you know, Poby is just not able to do things in the game that Faker would be able to do, and that's why the team is falling apart. Like when you're looking at a lot of the situations, it doesn't have anything to do with mid lane. Like they're just failing 3v3 dives. You know, Zeus is just laning poorly 1v1, or like people, you know, kill Rift-Herald right next to his lane and he still loses his entire HP bar or dies. Like they're just really weird mistakes. And that makes me think that, like, I guess the like hype combined with the repeated losses and repeated failures has just like weighed on the team, and now the players are all like just playing at a much worse level. Yeah, Carrier's form is significantly worse than it was in spring. Like just individually, he looks tilted in the games. Like before, he was playing like almost mechanically perfectly, but now he's like flashing into 1v4s and stuff where no one can follow him up. It's just very weird to watch T1 be in the state. But I mean, I would say that if I could sum it up in one word, it'd be glorious. Yeah, it's been amazing. I've loved every minute of it.
All right. Well, there we go. Now I just wanted a quick taste of a weigh-in. Obviously, LS will have his thoughts out very soon, and then we cover it as well on Power Spike. So just a quick taste on one of the big pieces of news coming out in this week, where we're missing some LEC, which meant in the West, a lot of focus on the LCS this week, as we always do. Let's dive right into it. All right, so the big news, you know, from last week was FlyQuest coming off 3 wins in a row. Maybe they're turning things around. It was still shaky. You guys both noted they were shaky wins. And then, bam, just an absolute egg. 3 losses yet again for FlyQuest here. And things are starting to look dire with only 6 matches left in the league. They're 2 matches behind FlyQuest and Energy. What do we think? Is it more of what we were preaching before here, Dom?
I mean, I still think they should make it, but it's really fucking scary because TSM 3-0'd. And then, I mean, pretty much it's going to come down to this match with NRG. That's how I see it. Like, they play NRG first game of week 5. And if they lose that game, I think that they're just pretty much fucked. They have a pretty hard schedule. They play against EG, as well as TL, even though they did beat TL last time. I mean, TL might be in honeymoon phase. They look better with APA, so maybe it won't be as easy to beat them this time. So they have a pretty hard schedule in terms of that. And then also, if NRG wins, that means they move to 6 wins, which means that NRG would need 6 in order to like tie, assuming that 100 Thieves is able to beat IMT, which looks pretty likely. I think IMT might just go 0-6. They look like the worst team in the league. So it's pretty fucking scary. If they picked up 1 win, I would be completely comfortable with them going on. But the fact that they had relatively easy games, like they play against 100 Thieves, which is 7th place, or they played against 100 Thieves, which is 7th place, and they also lost to Dig, that's really rough, because those are 2 games that you should be able to pick up in the backside here, and losing to those 2 teams means that obviously those teams are now elevating their standing. Dig is at 6 wins, 100 Thieves is at 5. They still have Immortals to go as well. So if FlyQuest doesn't get a big win, they're in a pretty tough spot. I mean, they have to pretty much beat NRG, beat Immortals, beat TSM, and then they have then they have like EG, which seems really hard, TL, which seems pretty hard for them, and C9, which are almost unwinnable games. So it's going to be hard for them to get to 6 wins. If they drop the game to NRG, I think they might be fucked.
It's looking tough. Ellis, what do you think of their week and the chances moving forward here for this very vaunted FlyQuest squad?
Yeah, I mean, I think FlyQuest are in a completely doomed position. I mean, I was talking with Papa Smithy not too long ago, right, about FlyQuest's upcoming games and everything, and it is really scary that they need to basically they need to get more wins in the last 2 weeks than they got all split long, which is, I mean, it's absolutely absurd. So the NRG game, I think Dom really does nail it. They need to win the NRG game. If they don't win the NRG game, because that's the matchup where I feel like it can kind of go either way based on watching the two teams the last couple of weeks. If they lose that on NRG game, they are just fucked. I think at that point, right? Because then they need to win all of the remaining games. NRG can't win any. It just gets really doomed. I'm not actually sure if they're going to be able to pull it off. I share the same exact sentiment that there's unwinnable games for them in these last 2 weeks. And so I don't know what FlyQuest are going to do, man. I don't know. They are it's something. The off season is going to be a banger.
So already talking off season. The only saving grace here for FlyQuest is that they own the tiebreaker against Energy. So Energy did lose to FlyQuest earlier, so it would be 1-1. You had at least 4 to playoff. If they win, they hold the tiebreaker, and then it's Energy, who though have the game lead, will not have the tiebreaker league. So any tie would go their way. But as you said, Dom, their matches against Energy, winnable. EG, probably not. TL depends on if APA comes back down, but we'd also chalk that up to a not. And then TSM Immortals, winnable. And then Cloud9. That's the biggest 3-3 maybe.
The biggest problem is that 100 Thieves and NRG still have to play IMT, which is looking like a free win right now. And if both of those teams win their games, they're moving up to 6. Normally you only need 5-13 record to move into top 8. Normally there's a 5-13 team that ends up making playoffs in North America, but that's not the case this split. It seems like, because all the middle of the pack teams are beating each other, it elevates the the placement or the amount of wins that you need in order to actually qualify. And yeah, I mean, if NRG and 100 Thieves just beat IMT, that might already be enough. I don't know if FlyQuest can necessarily win 3 games. NRG won, sure. If they win that, they're not even out of the woods. They play against IMT. That's another easy win. Outside of those 2 games, I guess TSM, but TSM is just legitimately looking like a better team than FlyQuest when Insanity plays, obviously. So it's tough. It's tough. They really fucked themselves. I just don't know how they mentally collapsed this hard. Also, yeah, I was watching your interview earlier and Vikla said he's the 10th best mid in NA. I mean, shit, it looks like he thinks he's the best. He's the 10th best mid in NA when he plays. That's tough. He just goes into every single lane phase. And you can tell the team has lost complete confidence in Vikla based on how they draft. It's okay, we'll play Maokai, just play Tristana and don't int. Play Azir and don't int. They don't give him any of his special picks anymore. There's no more oh, this is a really good Silas game. Here, you'll take over on this, or play this melee champion and show off your skills. There's none of that anymore. Even when he tried to play Jace earlier in the split, he ended up, doing poorly. He got absolutely gapped in lane. So I'm worried, man. I'm worried about FlyQuest. If they do make playoffs, I do think they can make a run. They are capable of probably beating some of these middle of the pack teams, but I just feel like they're so far away from getting into that top 3, that world spot, that it just seems almost inconceivable. Other teams are improving and FlyQuest just looks the same every week. Somehow they just never improve. And the way they draft is so limiting. It just feels like they're trying to just draft super easy comps, even if they don't make sense for the game, and just do nothing and win because they're better players. But that's just the teams now in LCS are better than that. They're not going to just roll over and let you win for free. You're not going to be able to just out macro them or just do things in game that get you advantages without being contested. And anytime that they are in a 50-50 situation, it seems like FlyQuest always loses it.
I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games of Renekton for Impact. I mean, Impact when I was talking to pros, I asked them to rank their, usually in their position, so other top laners, and I was like, hey, who are some top laners? And then, Impact's name doesn't get brought up anymore. And then I'm like, hey, what do you think about Impact? And someone said, like, there's been times where he's been in position to carry or push a lead, and he just doesn't or can't. You can't tell what the comms are doing, but he's been under a little bit of pressure as well. Ellis, I don't want to compromise you, so I'm going to ask Dom this question then. Is there a time where you pull the plug and you say, okay, time to throw some of the challengers guys in there? That's why you have them on the team, on the roster. So that'd be Spyrax. You probably don't put in Winsome or Masu because you trust Vulcan and Prince, as much as you can. I would say it's Spyrax or Faisal, which means probably just Spyrax in the mid lane. Like, is there a point where you just throw someone else in there, Dom?
The only person that I would potentially throw in would be UG, because I just think that he's somebody who really talented, and maybe that would give the team a more dynamic look, because Spica is just kind of AFK farming every game. It doesn't feel like he's very comfortable within the team. Also, when a team is playing weird and people are, inting their lane states permanently, it can really fuck with your mind as a jungler. And I feel like a lot of the time Spica is just, it's like he's paranoid from or he's like mentally scarred from all the failures that they've had and like all the lanes that people have fucked up so far. So that'd probably be the only person I could see being replaced, not because Spica is like not LCS level, but just maybe that would help the team a little bit and have like, you can have a different approach. But I think most likely you just don't change anything. I mean, if your team can't, beat TSM, NRG, and IMT, if you can't get those wins guaranteed with this lineup, I mean, you're just fucked anyway, right? Their team is just, I don't know what they can do. So I would assume that they just ride it out with the same 5 members. I just hope that they can, just get a little bit of momentum. I mean, if they can steal a win versus EG or TL, then everything is fine. This week, I mean, I think they really do need a 2-1. If they get like a 1-2 and it looks like, if it looks the way that it's been looking, where there's just no level of activity in the games, they're just like AFK, they're fucked. They're not going to win in the next week.
What is the most likely upset here for EG? Now, you can even go with the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks
for FlyQuest.
Yeah,
TL.
they play all the tough teams. TL makes sense.
Yeah, I think TL is the weakest out of the teams, just objectively. When you look at the other players, right? Like EG, even though they had a bad game to C9, they still look really good. JoJo's looking really solid. And then Cloud9 is just, for my money, the best team in the LCS. So I think that just leaves you with TL.
Yeah. What about you, Ellis?
I mean, I think that I think FlyQuest, it's a guaranteed win against Immortals. I think they lose versus Cloud9. I think that they lose versus Evil Geniuses. And then I think Team Liquid and TSM are both sort of up in the air. And I don't actually know what happened. I almost want to give TSM an edge just because of the way that they draft. And FlyQuest's tendency in draft, as well as their gameplay, right? Inability to close arbitrary throws, arbitrary team fights with no major objective. I don't know. I agree with Dom in that it's probably Team Liquid. I don't know. I mean, Appa just looked really good in the games that he ended up playing, right? So it's gonna be rough for them no matter what. I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like they only have one actual like guaranteed win, which should be Immortals.
Right. I mean, this is tinfoil hat time, but I mean, that's the time you're at if you're a FlyQuest fan trying to figure out the math on how you're going to get to 5, maybe 6 wins. I mean, Evil Geniuses got ran by a bot lane that just snowballed out of control, right? Maybe there's something there. I ran into JoJo in the press room. I had just got to LCS at that time. I was like, hey, man, I didn't fully get to see the game, but it ended earlier than what I thought. He's like, yeah, man, FBI, just he's too good. Those games happen against EG. So I feel like maybe that's one that maybe they could get something from. But you're right. I do think the TL, I don't know, man. TL looked really good. And they just made APA just seem really comfortable, too.
They looked good, but they also played against 100 Thieves and TL, or 100 Thieves and Immortals, which are really easy opponents. So
sure,
I could definitely see them not looking as good. And then also, when you think about how the week's going to progress, TL's probably going to get their shit pushed in by C9 to start, right? Like that's going to be the beginning of their week. And then if they, lose to TSM, if TSM puts a good game together and beats TL, like they could be in a like bad mental space by the third game of the week. So I think that's something that actually benefits FlyQuest here. Like they should have opposite trajectories. But obviously if FlyQuest just loses to NRG, if FlyQuest goes into the TL game and they have just lost to NRG and they've also lost to EG back-to-back days, they're going to be so mentally shattered. Because at that point, not only do you have like a game versus TL, which is not looking like a free win, you also realize that you have to win every single one of your games. You have to go 4-0 in your last 4 games. That includes like beating Cloud9 potentially to control your own destiny. If not, you're hoping for like massive collapses from like 100 Thieves, for example.
Yeah. Let's move forward to that debut. Probably one of the best debuts we've seen in a long time. Prince coming onto the scene was pretty good, but APA, y'all, comes in, tackles Dom's most frustrating pain point of the LCS in terms of players, maybe, right?
No. I gotta be a bigger Ruby hater.
Okay. So Insanity. Well, I guess Insanity also came on in and had a hell of a week too. But APA comes on in, fills in for Haeri in the middle of the week, like after Wednesday's match. He says in the interview, only had night block scrims, and then goes straight at it. They're like, hey, what are you comfortable playing? Okay, we'll draft around that. And they just built around that this week because that's all that they could do. And he has a unkilled KDA. He has the hell of a start. He gets a triple kill on the bot side of the map on Tristana. He doesn't fucking feed and shoves everyone, shoved in Clid's like lane multiple times, getting multiple kills as Ziggs. And now TL, look, they get 2 much needed wins here. Dom, what'd you think?
I mean, I thought it was really nice, mainly because it defeats the whole like narrative that TL had the entire time, which is like this roster is going to be so good because they're Korean. Like there's some random like Korean fetish that is persistent throughout the LCS, especially with TL. They just love Koreans. And you saw that you don't need to be Korean or speak the same language in order to just play better. Like, why not just start the players that are actually better on your team? And I mean, the management must now see like how dumb this idea was. Like, what does it matter if you can communicate like a couple sentences in more detail if the players are just incompetent? I just don't understand like this idea, especially when you see how successful LPL teams are, for example, with that always use Koreans. Like the most successful LPL teams in history have Koreans on them, and they're always like learning Chinese. So it's very weird to me that TL doubled down on this for so long. Like you should have made this change in between splits. But yeah, I mean the coach was the change that they ended up making. I like seeing APA in there. I've known him for a while. Somebody who I duoed with back in season 10 quite a bit. I always thought he was like a really talented player. His weakness before was just lane phase, and he practiced really hard in order to shore up that weakness. And when you look at his body of work and how he is as a player, he's the type of person that you want to be giving LCS spots to. You want to give it to the guy that fucking grinds. He's somebody who's always hitting rank 1 in North America. He was rank 1 in Champions Queue. That's why he was wearing the helmet and stuff when they showed him on the broadcast. He's somebody who really fucking wants it. He grinds for it. He studies, like he's plays he's thirsty for competition. He always wants to compete. He competed at Maryville when he wasn't getting an academy spot, kept it going, got an academy spot, grinding it out there. TL was doing well with him. He was performing really well within academy. He's the type of a guy that a spot should go to. So I think it's pretty damning that it took this long. With that being said, I mean, I expect that he'll probably be replaced at the end of the year by like Ruby or somebody because, Insanity has got that spot now for TSM, which means the Ruby will be free and TL can bring him in. He speaks Korean, and being Korean is just OP, I guess.
I'll admit, you got me there. I was like, wow, I really like this positive on NA, Dom, especially when he's had experience playing with this player. Maybe this is why he's being positive. Oh, there it is. What do you make of APA's start here, LS?
I mean, I thought it was really good when he ended up coming in. I mean, I think mechanical proficiency was there. I mean, Dom touched on a lot of the stuff that he's done, but also APA is one of the players that used to do the Korean boot camps, and I think it was on his own accord. So he'd come out here and he'd do that stuff as well. So he's been around for a really long time, and there's never been any instance of him obviously gracing the LCS until this ended up happening. And I completely agree with Dom in that it should have just probably happened in the off season. Now, I think that some people might claim that we wouldn't be saying that if Team Liquid's like early start to the season just kept going, where they were just winning so much and it looks like they were really meshing together. But one of the things that is absent because we don't have access to ProView anymore, and I actually requested to Riot like 2 weeks ago and I didn't get a reply, was if like co-streamers could somehow get access to ProView or something. You can't really see all of the blunders that certain players are making because of the absence of ProView. And I think that like in Haeri's case, as well as some other players in LCS, there's so many clear-cut weaknesses that the players have that I feel like if ProView existed and more people saw it or used it, might lead to stuff like this happening sooner. I don't expect him to come back in LCS. I think this is actually like one of those I don't want to say career ending, but it kind of is. The manner in which he subbed out and APA comes in and all of the positivity that surrounds APA and all the negativity that surrounds Haeri, I just feel like it's one of those esports things that's very difficult to recover from when Haeri as a player was already having difficulty getting into LCS in the first place. So I just think it's a recipe for disaster. What Dom's saying about communication stuff, where historically the best Chinese teams have always had Korean players, I mean that's totally accurate as well. You don't actually need language. Anytime people mention language, they just either show ignorance or they're just trying to appeal to emotion that's just not real because the person doesn't actually know the history of League or the communication that actually goes on in top level teams.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this felt. Maybe this is too far back, but this feels very Turtle on Chaos-esque.
Holy shit, whatever happened to Chaos? He tried to come back at some point, right?
Yeah,
he went
was like
as a streamer.
He went to China, didn't he?
He went to China and he was a coach in China. He like coached LSPL. He actually coached Clid.
By the way, you know the craziest thing about Clid is that those texts are old. I know that's totally random, but this popped up before on Korean forums and nothing happened. And now here we are. Anyway, that was just a little tidbit.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was the aiming stuff that everyone talks about. That
aiming and Rascal.
Yeah, aiming and Rascal.
And they just got away with it.
Yeah, and then also the aiming stuff afterwards. So he had the situation with Rascal, then he had the other situation afterwards, and I don't know. They're just getting away with it. So
there's a lot of situations that just get away with, isn't it? Isn't it amazing? There's the On Fleek situation.
I don't know.
On Fleek almost ended up in North America.
He's
in LATAM right now. I guess the LATAM team just doesn't care. Okay, cool.
Yeah, he said, get ready to learn Spanish, buddy. I've actually watched his team play quite a bit, and I mean they're all right. They're decent for a American team, I guess.
What were you doing?
Why
did you watch that match? That's so out of the purview of your major regions.
I mean, it's at a really good time for me. It's like 6 p.m. was when these matches go on. But yeah, I watched the finals. I don't know. I just wanted to see.
Got it.
I wanted to see a couple of the teams play. So I started watching Latin America because you have one team that has our boy Jose Diodo, and I was thinking that he might just completely smurf. It's Estral Esports, and then also on Jose Diodo's team, you have Hans Sam D. So you have Sam D, who used to play in LPL, also played in Korea last year. You have Mia on that team. And then you also had, for a while, I mean, he ended up getting benched, but you have Takeover on that team as well. So
oh, shit.
You had him on that team. He ended up getting fired because he ran it down in that last series. But yeah, I was watching just a lot of those games. I don't know. I was watching Bong. I was watching Minue. I don't know. I just randomly was watching it because, I mean, the league was kind of popping off in viewership compared to what you'd expect. It went from being like a league that was getting 4K viewers to getting like 20K, and I was just interested. It was like #1 on League of Legends section for a while, so yeah, I checked it out. But I mean, On Fleek is okay. He's doing well over there.
All right, boom. I do enjoy watching the finals of different regions to see how they, like, from an event standpoint, and how the region from a live event like kind of feels. You know, anytime you get to watch like the French league do their finals, or anytime you get to watch like Turkey do their finals, like that's always like very Brazil, didn't mean to offend you. Always fun to watch how they do it. Anyway, okay, APA, how long do you think they'll keep it up? Not too long. Do you think they'll get figured out next week? This drafting thing just can't be. Their opponents get tougher. Quick closing thoughts here, Dom.
I mean, keep it up in terms of, like, I think that they'll be a top 5 team, top 4, top 5. I don't think they'll crack the top 3, but I think that they'll be able to, like, be way more stable with APA than they were with Haeri. I mean, Haeri, like, you didn't know what this guy played. They tried so many different approaches with him, and he just couldn't execute on any of them, right? Like they tried to give him the Akali and he could play like more of like the assassins that he's comfortable with from solo queue. Okay, he tried that, didn't work. What else did they try to do? They tried to do the Annie games where you like see, oh, are you good at flanking? Like, is this something that you'll be able to contribute to the team? Maybe you could work as like somebody who engages well, like manipulate vision, all that type of stuff. He was bad at that. And they tried the Azir style where he's just playing, you know, like we remember from spring, the Haeri Azir, where he would just run it down every single game on Azir. They tried to play like more of a control mage, you know, just scale, sit back, scale, and, you know, do work in team fights. That didn't work either. So at some point, it just became like there's no redeemable qualities of his game. Like maybe he has redeemable qualities in terms of like being in a team environment, who he is as a person, stuff like that we can't judge. But in terms of like his gameplay, I don't think he has any redeemable qualities.
Alice?
I mean, Dom pretty much covers everything on him.
Okay.
I mean,
no, I'm at closing thoughts on will TL be able to keep this up?
Oh, okay. I mean, will TL be able to? I mean, Team Liquid. What are all of their upcoming matches?
It's
there's 6 games.
It's tough. Cloud9, TSM, FlyQuest, and then Golden Guardians, Evil Geniuses, and Dignitas.
They have a hard run.
All 5
they have
of the top.
Yeah. They have a really hard run too. I mean, so EG just sometimes randomly decides to lose, right? That's a thing that happens with them.
Yeah.
So maybe Team Liquid can get lucky in that regard. I don't know. Golden Guardians, I think, of obviously EG and C9 is probably the most capable for Team Liquid to beat, but they have a hard run too. I mean, they're obviously going to make playoffs though, so I don't think that's a worry. They're going to make upper bracket.
I mean, that's the scary thing. Do they actually end up making upper bracket? Like, do they make top 4? Because if TSM wins games, if Dignitas wins games, it could get a little bit sketchy. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sold they'll make top 4.
Yeah, always. This is just, it's fun. It's fun
why
here.
Why is everyone counting out the Immortals 6-0 into playoffs run? Like, why? Hello?
Have you watched Kenvi play?
What do you mean? Dom, Treats is on
guy,
Immortals. Do you have no faith?
I have faith in Treats. I have faith in the bot lane. We see when the bot lane wins, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's impossible to win games if your jungler is this bad. And I think Kenvi might be the worst jungler we've had in LCS in like years. I think this is a historically bad performance. If you go through the games and you try to think about like how many times has he ganked? Like, he was in on that 3-man dive mid where it's clearly forced by like the mid laner and Treats, and he ended up getting killed there. I don't even count that. When was the last time he did something positive in a game, created a positive situation relating to jungle, like really good pathing or playing around lanes that are strong or diving a lane at like an early timing, which completely like fucks someone? He doesn't do anything in the games. He does the weirdest pathing you'll ever see. I mean, there was some pathing that we saw from him where he was I forget what champion he was playing. He's probably playing like Maokai or Sejuani, just one of these champions, because that's like pretty much all he can play at this point. He's playing one of these champions. He had a tank versus tank match up top and a bot lane, and the bot lane was just an aggressive 2v2, and he was on blue side of the map. He did his full blue side, and then he just walked around top for like a minute straight instead of like full clearing down or doing camps and diving bot or doing anything that would put him on the side of the map that he wanted to play towards. He did 3 camps topside and to just like walk around top lane for a minute. It's like, I don't even, he's losing to the fucking AI, man. He's losing to AI. Please get him out of the league. Worst
Jungler in the last 5 years. Options here. Who's in that list? I just pulled up Leaguepedia and I have a couple names.
Iconic maybe in 2021 spring. He's one of the people that are down there.
But also around that time, another guy that was there that both of you guys are very, very low on. Very low. Big name, very low on.
Broxa.
I mean, is correct.
I don't think Broxa.
Fragas.
Oh yeah, that's right. Fragas for 100.
Yeah, but he didn't really play. He played like 2 games or something.
Yeah, it wasn't a ton.
Yeah, I mean,
I think like people might not like this response, but like legitimately Meteos at the end, right? His stint on Optic.
Or stint on 100 Thieves when he came back, you mean?
It was 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of his last stints, he was not,
When he was on FlyQuest, remember they were like pumping him like he was MVP, and then he got, it was the trade that messed everything up.
I don't totally know everything that went on with Meteos, like the stories that surrounded his just like not disappearance, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, him just kind of dropping off from the competitive
him tapering
space.
Off. Yeah, I don't know if Dom knows, but
2018
who else is there?
jungler pool was pretty good.
I mean, we generally didn't have like terrible junglers in North America.
Yeah, Meteos, Vince Garen, Lyra.
People might say 2018 Mike Young.
Yeah, 2018, Mike Young maybe on TSM.
I mean, he was not great, but like they were good in the regular season. I mean, there was still a team that was like top 3, and he was doing decently. I mean, the argument was that he was having to be micromanaged by Mithy, and he had a really bad playoff series specifically against Clutch. But dude, Kenvi is actually just doing nothing ever. Like he doesn't do anything ever. That's so crazy, especially in this type of meta where it should reward players that don't have the best pathing, because you can kind of just like go for the play. It doesn't matter how many camps you do before the play. If you just make a good play or you hit a lane at the right timing, that should be enough. He's never able to do that. I don't know. It's really, really hard to watch, especially because I thought that he would be good. You know, like I thought he was a player that had a lot of potential, but I think he's just a really bad competitor. I think that he just doesn't have like the balls to go out there and play the fucking game normally. I think he's just in his own head. He's like trying to be way too smart. He would never path like that in solo queue. He would never play a tank in solo queue, do 3 camps and sit top lane for a minute in a tank versus tank matchup. He would never do that. I don't know why he thinks that like this is going to work now. And like even if somebody is like people are gonna be like, oh well, like maybe the laners are calling for it. Even if the laner calls for it, you just don't do what you know is fucking bad. And I doubt that Solo is the type of player that is like, dude, camp my lane. Like fuck the entire game for yourself to camp my lane. He's always been a player that is just gonna like do his own thing. So in the games that he's playing, it looks like he should have freedom, and he's just nowhere, man. He's literally nowhere. And then when you combine the egregious pathing, like some of the worst pathing I've ever seen from a jungler, when you combine that with his like lack of mechanical ability in team fights, which is really strange to me because he was like a clear mechanical jungle talent, it's really tough to watch. He's bordering on that line of like, oh man, you might be one of the worst of all time in the role.
Yeah, I mean, going through it,
Jesus.
I don't see too many other
I'm
names
sensing
on
some
there.
maybe solo queue animosity here between these two.
No, I think he's good from solo queue. I thought he
no,
was
maybe
good
can be
stuff.
random down like one game. Like...
I think he might be one of the worst players of all time in the LCS.
Jesus
All right,
Christ.
now you've changed. You keep pushing it,
We're
Alex.
gonna need
This
to
is
pull
your
up the
fault.
logs here from Ryan.
I think
your
that he
fault,
might
LS.
be one of the worst competitive players in any game in the history of esports and real sports. No, just kidding. Obviously, the last 2 are a joke, but I do think I stand by the fact that I think he's like one of the worst junglers, like bottom 3 junglers of the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years? That goes back to like
2018. Yeah.
You had like Moon and Wiggly when Wiggly kind of fell off pretty hard. You had Rush and Panda over at EchoFox. Remember EchoFox? That was an organization 4 years ago. Surprising.
Yep.
It felt like it was like they ended in 2016.
Whatever happened to Echo? What was his name? Rick Fox, right?
Yeah, Rick Fox.
He's still a celebrity.
He's still around. What is he?
I mean, he essentially got pushed out of like his organization by people that were racist, and then he just gave up on esports, I guess.
Let's see.
Completely understandable.
EchoFox was an esports organization, an American esports organization. Says Wikipedia.
Could either of you two explain to me the Rick Fox thing when like G2 was just allowed to oust Carlos?
I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact thing with EchoFox, but I think the person that was like racist or like fucking up EchoFox had like a controlling share, like had a huge share of EchoFox. Really? I mean, either way, I think that this is one of the biggest losses for the LCS. When you think about who Rick Fox was, I mean, he was super personable, super charismatic, and he was just a cool fucking guy. Like he's somebody who shows up, and if he shows up on a stage and you interview him at an arena, he speaks.
He was very human. Yeah.
He looks good. He's smart. He's the perfect representative for LCS. Like if he says that League of Legends is cool or that LCS is cool, people are gonna believe him, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like we just let him go, and now you look at whatever LCS is now, and it's tough.
Here we go. And this is from Wikipedia, and then after this, I don't know, I don't remember the details strongly here, and I will put time later to like research it, but I don't feel like I don't want to put misinformation out there. So in September 2019, a lawsuit ousting general partner Rick Fox was sent to EchoFox by sent to him by several of his business partners, stating Fox had repeatedly worked against the best interests of the company. I remember that. The letter sent had several signatures, including Vision Esports head Stratton Sklavos, investor Daniel Deshi, Rise to Group manager Ravi Srivastava, and Khaled Jones, who was Fox's partner in the general partnership. That's the guy that stabbed him in the back. Fox filed a lawsuit against his business partners, Amit Raizada and Stratton Sklavos, alleging the two partners committed fraud, conspiracy, and breach of contract against him. And then with numerous rumors spreading about EchoFox splitting apart over the lawsuits, an EchoFox investor confirmed the organization had officially disbanded. Let's see, where is that from? That is from a good old Daily Dot. Let's see. And that page doesn't exist anymore. Of course it doesn't exist anymore. Thanks, Wikipedia. This is why you don't use Wikipedia as your sources, because now that source doesn't exist. All right. How about this one? Win Esports. Nope, that link doesn't work either. Look at that. I got scrubbed from the internet. So I'll have to do some digging later on with some EchoFox. But I've watched Succession, and so I just feel like there's a drama there waiting to happen in esports. Okay. Damn. Sorry, Kendi. Let's move on to a happier story along with Armeo, probably my vote for comeback player of the year, Insanity, coming back into the LCS again after Dom's least favorite player in the LCS gets benched, comes in, ruins everything, leaves. Insanity comes back up, not only carries TSM to a 3-0 week, but also gets Player of the Week honors, something that even MVP frontrunner Jojo Pune has not won yet. This split, at least. It's been Summit, Armeo, and Prince. Now Insanity gets his name etched into Players of the Week this week. He shouldn't have left in the first place here, Dom.
Of course not. I mean, I guess the idea was they signed Ruby as a starter and they felt like it would be unfair if they didn't give him any playing time. He didn't get to prove himself. That being said, they're lucky that this worked out. This could have literally doomed their season. If Ruby went 0-3 and then the team got down mentally, they're 3-6. If they lost a couple of these games, they could be down there with FlyQuest fighting for a playoff spot. It could have literally ruined their entire season. So I think it was mega risky by TSM. I don't think that they were in any position to fuck around with their potential playoff spot the way they did. But Insanity came in and he got it done. So I hope that this just means that Ruby is done for the year and Insanity just continues to play. I don't see how Ruby could play again. But then again, I never saw he could play in the first place. Maybe I'll be wrong. But I mean, he's literally 6-3 on the year, and the team looks so much better when Insanity plays. Insanity is playing well. He looks like a top 5 mid laner in the league, which is crazy when you consider that there's 7 imports or something. I'm really liking how he's played. I think that he gives them an interesting draft dynamic. We mentioned the Graves and how people always have to consider that. It seems like he's competent enough to play all the other champions in mid lane that are required as of right now. So I'm happy with everything that I've seen. I think that it's been a long time coming, and the way that he got fucked, it left a really bad taste in my mouth. How did he go from being somebody who was a promising mid on Immortals to getting benched for Power of Evil, which at the time made sense? Power of Evil was playing maybe a top 4 mid, maybe on the bottom end of the top 4 mid. I can understand that, but how the fuck did we let this guy go to amateur? How are players like APA and Insanity not just guaranteed academy players? Why do we have these spots going to imports over players that are legitimately good NA talent that should be they should be in the scene, they should be getting coaching, having an opportunity to elevate their skills? It's so criminal that these players, that it took them so long to even get academy spots back. So yeah, I want Insanity to succeed. And yeah, he's also a based OMG/LPL enjoyer, so he's always in my chat during those games. So.
Nick, what have you thought of not just Insanity here coming in and the effect that he's had? I think want to take there, but also TSM. They were staring down a 3-6, 3-9 week. If they would have continued their losing streak, they were at 3-6 at the beginning of the week, and big turnaround here.
I think so. I mean, obviously, Revan's always on the co-streams and stuff, so I can talk about some of the stuff with Insanity as well as some of the stuff that might be private, but I don't think he'd really care if I talk about it. So Ruby was just able to play because of the idea that it would be really unfair that with his visa stuff or whatever, that he gets there and then just never plays at all. So they were sharing scrims, and the result in scrims were that they were doing relatively similar, I guess, in scrims. So that's why Ruby played that 1 week. Was just I think there's just an emotional aspect to it, and that they're doing seemingly the similar in scrims, and it's unfair that Ruby doesn't get an opportunity to try to play on stage. That being said, I don't think that we're ever going to see Ruby come back. Revan did say that one of the things that really helps with Insanity is Insanity is willing to play abstract champions or like non-traditional, and that adds a lot of value inside of the draft, and it adds flexibility for the team. And this is something that Ruby just can't do, or that Ruby doesn't see the value in, because of course. So I think with all of these things considered, I mean, I feel like Ruby's just kind of gone. And I also feel like with the temperature around Ruby, whenever you talk about him for like these major regions, I think that like after he leaves TSM, he's probably just either going to end up teamless, like totally, or he ends up in, LATAM or something like that, where people just don't do any research.
No, I told people it's time for him to just learn Portuguese, buddy. He can go to CBLOL and probably be decent there. He can be like Lava. That's the level of his play. There's no reason Ruby should be in a major region. How does he go from being one of the worst, if not the worst mid laner in Europe to getting a spot on TSM? It makes no fucking sense. And then the other point that I wanted to address is when you talked about Insanity being able to play abstract champions. I think that that's part of the reason why his scrim performance might be the equivalent to Ruby's. I mean, if you're just playing the same champions over and over in scrims like Ruby is, I could see him being consistent on those champions, like not playing super well, but being consistent on those champions. But Insanity, like in order to play the massive amount of champions that Insanity is willing to play, you're going to int some scrims. You're going to pick something when it's not good, be like, oh, I really want to play a Graves game here. It might not be an optimal Graves game, but you're like, I want to have at least one game on this if I'm going to pull it out on stage in a team environment. And you might not have like a great game, but overall, like he gives you so much in the draft. Like the Graves picks were obviously good, but then this week, just look at the picks that he had. Enemy team blinded Vel'Koz, right? IMT blinded Vel'Koz. What do you think Ruby would have picked into Vel'Koz, LS? You think he would have just picked a Zir or some shit? I would not be surprised if he picked a Zir into Vel'Koz. He probably would just
self-counterpick himself. Yeah, he would self-counterpick himself.
Yes, he would self-counterpick himself. Whereas Insanity is like, okay, Yone is so OP here, and he trusts himself enough to be like, I don't care if I have a million games of Yone. Maybe if I just played it twice in scrims. This guy is blinding Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz has no counterplay to Yone dashing on his face with Q3. Like the stun, the Vel'Koz E is way too slow. Vel'Koz thrives versus champions where you can play like the outranging game, and Yone obviously just completely cuts that off. Like he can just ult on your face at any single time and blow your flash post 6, and they win the game. That's the value of Insanity. Like, and that is real tangible value that goes beyond like, did we win more games with Ruby in scrims, or how was Ruby's lane performance in scrims? Like, I don't know. I just really dislike when a player like Ruby is getting time over like somebody who's an actual talent. You're seeing that he's an actual talent now. Let him fucking play.
The stock report's going up here for TSM. Bad things for FlyQuest, so we'll see. And also, let me just triple check the schedule. Yeah, again, on Thursday, we got to see APA and Insanity. The first time in a long time that we're getting to see two North American mids play against each other, right? Everyone else, let's see, Liquid, no. M&S, no. Jensen, no. Sorry, Jensen, like represented us for years, but no. Jojo Pune, I guess Jojo, but Jojo kind of like just shot straight up. It wasn't like he went through the academy system. And yeah, we're going to have a true blue. Palafox. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Palafox, my bad. I skipped over you. All right.
Yeah, he's forgettable. It's fine.
No, Palafox is stable. He's the stable guy. He's the, the key
that's why he's forgettable. That's why he's stable. Okay. Sure.
All right. Well, we'll get to see APA and Insanity go head to head later on. Also, shout out like APA getting the death's row of mid laners here in the last couple of weeks. M&S, Jojo. So what is he? He gets all pros from last split. He gets the comeback player of the year in Insanity. He gets the MVP frontrunner in Jojo, and the 8 in a row world attendee in Jensen. Like, good luck, APA. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. All right. Final thoughts here on any of the squads before we head on over to Facecheck all in. I didn't see. I did it right this time. Final thoughts on any of these teams? Cloud9. Anything you want to say on Cloud9 here, LS?
No, I mean, I don't really have any thoughts. Like, I think Cloud9, I don't know. It's hard, right? We're thinking like about worlds and stuff, and I don't think that there's been anything exceptional that makes me think any more positively for C9, like when it comes to worlds.
Yeah, C9 has TL, EG, and 100 Thieves this week, so definitely a harder week, not their hardest week, but a harder week this week. So time to show up here for M&S and the boys. Let's see. EG, Golden Guardians, FlyQuest, Cloud9. That's a hard week. That's a hard week, depending on which FlyQuest you get. And then Golden Guardians have EG, Immortals, and Energy. So, Golden Guardians thinking maybe an easier week. All right, let's head on over to our friends, esportsbet.io for Facecheck All In, where we will be wagering on some of the biggest, or I guess the bets that I think work the best for us, the best odds that we're being given for our winners, our favorites, or our underdogs. So let's see. Go ahead, call it out when you see one that is a good value here, Dom or LS. I'm looking as well.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go another game time over. I normally do this when bad teams play against each other. It's like one of just the strategies that I use when I bet. That's the one that I did last week between Immortals and TSM. I think it was over 30 minutes was what the line was. And I think the game actually went over 40 minutes, which is absolutely insane for a game. I'm going to do the same thing here this week. So the game that I'm looking at is, the first one, which is this 100 Thieves versus Immortals game. I think both these teams take a while to close out. And I'm going to be going over 30 minutes again, because I think 30 is actually a pretty low line. 30 minutes is normally a line that you'll get when G2 plays a bad team. 29 is maybe as low as it will go for a team that actually plays fast games. So this is assuming that the games are going to be pretty fast. And I don't think that I don't think that this line is correct, because these teams lose fast to good teams. They don't play short games that they win versus bad teams, right? So for that, I'm going to go over 30 minutes on this game, 100 Thieves versus Immortals. I just think that it's a game that's going to drag on. I just don't see 100 Thieves or Immortals playing a super clean game.
All right. LS, have you found one yet?
I mean, everything is somewhat accurate, right, in terms of numbers. I really do. I think Dom has it kind of correct in NA, where the game timers are probably just better than actual game to games. I think in terms of game to game, I think TSM's odds at almost 1.8 versus Dig is actually favorable for TSM with Insanity playing. I don't think that's atrocious. I think Cloud9 versus Team Liquid, I think the odds for C9 are too high. Even with Appa in mid lane, I don't see why C9 isn't 1.2 or 1.3. Because the games that they do end up losing, Cloud9 in North America, it's stomps that just happen really randomly. It's not actual. I feel it's not something that's predictable in their gameplay. Just something that just happens. So I think Team Liquid still has a lot of problems, and even though Appa's there, I don't think anything magically changes.
I'm scrolling through here. I like the idea here, Dom, of two teams that don't know how to close out. It's two subs trying to get together. It's all right, you ready? You ready to close it out? Nope. Oh, it's two big wet noodles that are trying to fight each other. They can't fucking figure it out.
Okay, interesting reference.
So, thank you. So, I'll take your advice here, and I'll take two teams that don't know how to close out games. Give me, unless the bot lane gets a pentakill, give me Energy and FlyQuest. Their time to beat is slightly longer, because it is known that they do have difficult times closing out games. 32-minute game duration. I'll take the over on that. Give me the over on that with FlyQuest Energy not knowing how to close out games unless there's, Contracts has had Baron stolen from him. He steals Baron. Speaker's had Baron stolen from him, stolen away from him. That's actually how that last game happened, right? Didn't Speaker steal Baron away from Contracts? Yeah. It's just...
I mean, I think you can see here that the big issue with game times, because game time is normally just calculated based off what the average game time is of the games these teams play. But the difference is FlyQuest has a lot of long games versus kind of good teams where they just drag it out, and it's damn, I guess they're gonna lose to whatever team. They could lose to EG or C9. They could play like a longer game than maybe 100 Thieves versus Immortals. But 100 Thieves versus Immortals, like those teams are much worse. Those teams are like really bad at winning quickly. So that's normally what I try to target is I look at and see are these calculated off, the teams actually being able to win quickly or just their games being quick because they lose so fast?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the match history. Does it say the game time in the match history?
Yeah, Games of Legends normally.
Oh, okay.
LCS.
Yeah, because when I think of energy, I think of like effortful wins and like painful losses. Whether it's they got absolutely shit on or the game was drawn out and they threw some shit like that. And when I think of FlyQuest, their wins have been drawn out wins. So either way, I think that feels pretty safe. So give me 32 minutes on the over there for 1.8. All right, thanks to our friends over at Esportsbet for making Facecheck possible. Make sure to head on over there, play safely, sign up, and you can play now. All right, everyone. That's it. Another episode of Facecheck done. Again, our not first recorded, but one of our few recorded episodes ever. LS, where you're going to be helping out Griffin in these tryouts most of the week. So is that how will people be able to keep up with you?
I mean, I'll be there for the co-streams starting Wednesday, but yeah, I mean, today, tomorrow, even Wednesday briefly, I'll be helping Griffin with the tryouts. I think his tryouts are just this week. I think it's all 7 days, but I'll be there the first like 3. Yeah, and then everything's back to normal.
Okay. Dom, how about you, man?
Same old. Starting Tuesday, I'll be just doing everything again. So, yeah, LPL, it's in the final week of LPL. Yeah, and I'm just going to be doing my same content as always. Also, I'm trying to record a OMG, not documentary, but just explaining like why I like this team, because I feel like so many people just don't know the story. If they're not like a watcher of my stream, they don't really like know the story of why I support this team or like how they became my favorite team. So I think it'll be just an interesting topic to just cover, because people talk about it. I saw a first page Reddit thread where they were like, why is Dom such a big fan of OMG? And I could have sworn that it was like a secret wrong answers only meme, but I think it was just Redditors doing the same thing, bro. Like there's some Reddit comments. Let time for a rant. There's one Reddit comment I remember about Bin, where a commenter said that Bin seems like so nice, like, but he kind of has like a bad rep. And somebody's like, yeah, he's got that standard rough Asian look with the teased hair. Like a lot of Japanese people like even dreading their hair. Maybe Koreans like Bin would like to dread it too. And it's like, Bin is Chinese, number one, but then it's also just such like an American, like, oh, I know this whole guy's let me just tell you something about how Asians wear their hair. Like it was just some random shit like that. That comment has stuck with me. That is Reddit in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, Reddit's been... Yeah. I had an analogy for Reddit earlier. It's like an evil that you have to deal with, and everyone still uses it anyway. Oh, it's like Twitter. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to Threads. Threads is the new thing. See you on Threads. But everyone uses Twitter, and everyone complains about how things are going or whatever. People still use it. People still use it to get their news. It's the same fucking shit as Reddit. Everyone's like, Reddit's the worst, blah, blah, blah. People still use Reddit. I guess we don't, but that is still one of the main sources.
It's a lot less used than it used to be. Like there used to be roughly like 25 to 30,000 people on Reddit at all times, and now when you go on the League subreddit, it's normally like 5,000.
If I go there right now, how many is there?
8 in prime time. Yeah,
8. Yeah,
but
is
you can
prime
tell.
Time?
I mean, prime time in the US. I think there's more NA users on Reddit than there are like EU.
As long as we don't say when we recorded this, it'll be prime time whenever we recorded this.
Exactly.
Actually true.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll catch it on there. For me, 16 interviews this week. They're all definitely coming out. This week, the interviews were all kind of long. They're all like 10 minutes plus. I had the interview with 4 Korean players. I had Gory, Vikla, Rich, and M&S, as well as Coach Kane. He sat down and shared some stories from back when he was on Najin Black Sword. Yeah, White Shield, Black Sword. And then Spica talking about the difficulties he's going through right now, and also 2 very funny TSM stories. Like, very funny. This week has been a lot of fun. So please check it out over on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the esportsbet.io channel, the one that you're watching this on right now. Help us out and continue our Facecheck going on. Keep the Esportsbet people happy. And yeah, thanks all for watching. We'll see you guys next week for more Facecheck action. See ya.